Okay, we ready to roll? Yes. Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. I'll begin with a chant. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagadgurum. Salutations to Krishna, the destroyer of evil, the giver of the highest joy, and the teacher of the world. Good morning. It's now August of the pandemic year, and August to me always means the month of Sri Krishna, because Krishna's birthday, otherwise known as Janmashtami, is on August 11th this year, and Janmashtami is always a day of joy and celebration. We usually have a big celebration in San Diego. It's the kind of opening day for San Diego, and this year we'll have a big celebration, but without people, unfortunately. So it's a little different kind of celebration this year. And the date had special resonance for me, because when I asked Swami Swaminanda in 1977 if I could join the convent, he said, no, let's wait for an auspicious day. I think he felt I needed all the help I could get. So I had to wait for some months, and he chose the date of Janmashtami, Krishna's birthday, was the day I could join. So I always felt that it was like a special grace of Sri Krishna, because I'm still here. And I was later given the name Vrajaprana, and Vraja refers to an area, it refers to Krishna. It's the area around Vrindavan, where Krishna grew up and had his divine Leela with the gopis and the gopas, the cowherd girls and boys. And it's this utterly charming and innocent chapter of Krishna's life that's utterly soaked in love and this ecstatic devotion to God. It's just lovely. It's filled with joy. So if you want to read more about that section of his life, it's in the Bhagavata. But I decided to speak on Krishna today, not only for sentimental reasons, and not only because August is his birthday month, but because what Krishna tells us is so applicable to us right now. And in fact, Krishna's teachings are more relevant than they've ever been, especially, considering the completely incomprehensible world that we're in right now. Krishna's teachings are like a life raft thrown to us when we're drowning in this ocean. Many, many people right now are going through an extremely difficult time. Some are ill, some have a loved one that they're ill, and many more others are just terrified of getting ill or of dying of COVID. Of course, you don't need COVID-19 to die. That comes in the package when we're born. If we're born, we're going to die. But sort of this COVID thing brings it home very powerfully and viscerally. Nationwide, as of August the 1st, we've got about 5 million nationally, almost that, and over 500,000 in California. And some cases are mild, and some are moderate, and some are severe. But it's nothing you want to get. But because it's so new and it's so prevalent, mortality starts seeming rather real to us all of a sudden. But as you all know, old age, sickness, and death kind of come with this birth package that we've all signed up for. So even apart from the fact that we're living through an uncontrolled pandemic worldwide, we're also going through this cataclysmic social upheaval. The endemic racism within the country is now visible for all to see. We can't avoid it. It's there. It's soul destroying to see a person killed in front of you on someone else's cell phone video. It's a devastating thing. It's heartbreaking. And it's incomprehensible. And then it's to see how all too common it has been is even more devastating. So we're all experiencing this together all at once right now. And on top of all of that, many people have lost their jobs, some have lost their homes, their income, and many more are afraid of that happening to them. So a lot of people are feeling like the ground underneath their feet is giving way, and their usual solutions, they're used up. That ticket no longer works for this ride. It's a very different world all of a sudden. And many are at a loss about how to even navigate this current situation. You know what? We just wish this whole thing would just go away. Just go away. But we can't escape it. We're meant to deal with it, so we got to deal with it. And there's a point in us going through this right now. And this is where Krishna comes in. He's throwing us a life jacket. And that's where we come in, because the lecture is on Krishna and us. And this is where we are. Krishna has some things to tell us. And he's got some teachings that we would do really well to really incorporate into our lives. Because somehow or other, we're all going to get through this. We have no choice but to move forward. But the real question is, how do we want to go through it? How do we want to go through this experience? We can either make it a positive thing or a negative thing. We can either grow from this, or we can turn within ourselves and become more afraid, more withdrawn, more ignorant. And Krishna's words right now are really helpful. And these spiritual tools right now are really helpful, because his words can give us strength and wisdom. And that's what we need so desperately right now. So if we take his teachings to heart, we have the ability then to take a big step back and look at things a little bit differently. If we can take a step back, we can get some distance, and we can look at the bigger picture of our life, and really the bigger picture of the purpose of our life. We can look upon these enormous difficulties as a way of getting some hard-won wisdom and spiritual growth that we would not have gotten any other way. Sometimes what we all need is a good hard knock on the head, and then we kind of wake up from our usual routine and say, oh, whoa, okay, ow, I guess my life's routine is not happening anymore, and my usual habits of thinking aren't going to work for me anymore. So during this pandemic, the usual refrain is, oh, I miss doing what I used to do. I miss doing this. I miss doing that. But maybe what we were doing isn't really helpful to us in the bigger picture. Maybe we need to do something else, because that's what the universe is handing us right now. So whether we like it or not, we might as well work with it, gain something powerful from it, rather than fighting it against it. Which is, it's fighting a losing battle, because the universe is going to win. The Divine Mother will always win, because it's her play and she's in charge. So that's when we step back, we look at the bigger picture and say, okay, there's something I need to learn here. Now, I need to learn it now. Now, as most of you know, there was this terrible war in India long ago, 4,000 plus years ago, and happened on the Battle of Kurukshetra. It was an unwinnable situation, because family and friends and revered spiritual teachers were on taking different sides. So you can't win a war like that, because you end up killing those you love and those you revere. You end up killing your own family members. But there was no way out. The bad guy, Duryodhana, wouldn't let the Pandavas live in peace. In fact, he wouldn't let them live. He repeatedly tried to kill them. He did every possible harm he possibly could. And so Krishna went as an envoy to make peace on any kind of peace. Because they have just one little village, one little thing. It's like, I will not give them land the head of a pin. And so Krishna failed to negotiate any sort of peace. And so war was declared. Now, this is what happens at the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. So the first line of this great 4,000-year-old plus spiritual classic is Dharma Kshetri Kurukshetre Samaveta Yutsavaha. First line, on the field of Dharma, on the holy land of Kurukshetra, armies are assembled, eager for battle. Oh yeah. Doesn't it feel like we're on a field of battle right now? Doesn't it feel like that's what we're engaging in, is these battles on different fronts all at once? Now, Arjuna, who's the world's greatest warrior, drops his bow and he says to Krishna he's not going to fight, because he can't bear to kill those he loves and those that he reveres. And Krishna says to him, Tasmadu tishtata kaunteya yudhaya krita nischaya. Stand up and fight. Engage the battle with determination. Now, what kind of avatar, what kind of incarnation of God says to go out and kill? I mean, aren't we supposed to practice ahimsa? Aren't we supposed to be violent? Isn't that what being spiritual is? No, not if you're a warrior, not if you're dharma. Is being a warrior and protecting and defending people who can't protect themselves. And Krishna doesn't just say that, he kind of rubs it in with it. He says to him, don't be a eunuch. I mean, he's really going for it there. He said, stand up and fight. Stop being a eunuch. Often people think that being spiritual is being passive, not standing up, surrendering. Only highly evolved souls are capable of really surrendering. The rest of us may say something, may not say something, we might not engage in a battle, but inside it all rankles. It's all like gurring around in there. Now, if we don't stand up and fight and don't react outwardly, it's cowardice or weakness or indecision. It's not spiritual. We have to stand up for truth. We have to stand up for protecting those who can't protect themselves. We stand up for others' dignity, and we stand up for our own dignity. Being a doormat is not spiritual, it's just being a doormat. So how do we stand up and fight against a virus which is an unseen enemy? Well, our own enemy here is our own fear. Our own unconscious belief that except for this pesky virus, we're somehow immortal. We'd live forever if it wasn't for this little virus. Now, we have to remember we are not the body. We're not the mind. We have a body which we very nicely occupy. It's such a great little home that we have here. It's a wonderful place to be inside. We need to respect it. We need to take really good care of it. We keep it clean, we feed it well, we clothe it. We keep the body and the mind healthy and strong and able. But at the end of the day, we have to remember that it's all temporary housing. Krishna says, know the Atman, unborn, undying, never ceasing, never beginning, birthless, deathless, unchanging forever. How can it die the death of the body? Bodies are said to die, but that which possesses the body is eternal. Worn out garments are shed by the body. Worn out bodies are shed by the dweller within the body. New bodies are donned by the dweller like garments. We have to keep this in mind when we're wringing our hands and living in fear. Got to remember who we really are. This Atman is who we really are. It's not this wonderful body and mind that we're using. Now, Krishna goes on to say that the Atman within us is indestructible. He said, no one has the power to destroy what is indestructible. He said, no one is killing and no one is being killed. These are the kind of strengthening words that we need to hear right now. No one has the power to destroy what cannot be destroyed. That which is the realest part of ourselves cannot be destroyed. It's who we really are. That is who we are. That's our real identity. So whether it's COVID or a car accident or a stroke or cancer or old age, you know what? It's all a temporary arrangement. Same with the mind. So that said, wear your mask. Wash your hands. Don't go into crowds. Don't be selfish. Don't be stupid. We can't decide we're going to go off and do our own things because we have to respect others and respect this body and mind that we are allowed to have now. The body that we have, the mind that we have is a great thing. The first prerequisite for spiritual enlightenment is a human body, first and foremost. We can't take it for granted. You know, there's many sentient beings in this universe. Very tiny proportion of that, extremely small proportion is human beings. Way more insects out there, way more everything else. To have this human body is such a rare gift. Next time around, maybe we won't get a human body. Or maybe we'll get a human body, but we won't be born into a place where we can really unfold our spirituality. Maybe we won't be able to be born in a place where we have religious freedom. That's a huge gift to us. We won't be able to be in a situation where we can really unfold spiritually because of social conditions or family conditions. So we have this great opportunity now. We are in such close contact with really advanced spiritual teachers. It'd be a tragedy to waste this precious opportunity. His Holiness the Dalai Lama never gets tired of saying, don't waste precious human birth. It's a blessed opportunity. So wear your mask, wash your hands, be careful. This thing isn't to be messed with. So when Krishna tells us, stand up and fight, what exactly are we fighting? We're fighting our fear. We're fighting our own sense of our own smallness. We're fighting our old habits of thinking. We have to look within ourselves as well to root out any forms of suspicion or hatred or distrust which lends themselves to treating others badly or unfairly. We can't point fingers out, say, oh my God, isn't that terrible? Without really looking inside ourselves very carefully. We have to honestly ask ourselves, how have I contributed to this situation? We owe that to ourselves. We owe that to the rest of the world. How have I contributed that to myself? How can I remedy that? How can I learn, as Holy Mother said, to remember that the whole world is your own. No one is a stranger, my child. The whole world is your own. How do we enact that in daily life? We can't just point the finger out and say, oh, how terrible. How can within ourselves we change our own way of being? We have to stand up and fight against our own selfishness, our self-centeredness, our old ways of thinking that we're so comfortable with. And when possible, we stand up against injustice where we can and when we're able. We don't ignore it. We don't pretend it's not there. Swamiji said, love thy neighbor as thyself, because your neighbor is yourself. You know, when I came to Vedanta in the 60s, I was a peace activist. And when I came, I was really angry about racial injustice, social injustice, and I was really mad about the Vietnam War. So I asked Swami Prabhavananda, how can we make peace happen? And he smiled at me and said, you have to have peace within yourself before you can give it to others. And that hit home hard. It totally killed my young political activism because I knew there was no peace within my own heart. I couldn't shove peace down others' throat. It wasn't being peaceful. It was just imposing my opinion on other people. That was just my ego going crazy. We can't change the world without changing ourselves first. If we want to make a real difference, and I think COVID and all this upheaval is here to help us with this whole situation. It's giving us opportunities, wanted or unwanted, that we wouldn't have had otherwise. So to effect a real transformation within ourselves, we need to utilize the powers within us. All of us have tremendous powers within ourselves. And this is why Krishna gives us the yogas in the Bhagavad Gita, because the yogas utilize every part of our personality so that we can, within ourselves, fully integrate ourselves to use all of our abilities, all of our strengths, every portion of our personality to go towards this great goal of realizing our own divine nature. You know, all of us work all the time because even thinking is work. Even thinking takes some effort. We all do karma, we all act, and we all get karma phala, the results, the fruits of our actions. So what actions we do in our life is determined by our role in life. Arjuna is a warrior and he has to defend and protect because there are people like Duryodhana who will go out there and try to destroy and do evil because that's their nature. This is not the dharma of a teacher. It's not the dharma of a social worker. It's not the dharma of a grocery worker or a farmer or a contractor. Everybody has their own dharma to do. Everybody has their own actions to do, which are appropriate to time, place, circumstance. So we can't try to do the work of others. It's not who we're meant to be or what we're meant to do. All of us have our own unique and special work to do in this life. All of us are born into this situation to do our own special, unique work. And since our work takes up so much of our time, so much of our mind, so much of our energy, we need to spiritualize it and make it really important part of our spiritual life. And this is why Krishna teaches us karma yoga. Krishna very famously says, and it's famous because it's been repeated for now over 4,000 years, karma yeva ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalahi turburmate sangos karmani. To work alone, you have the right, but not the results. You can't let the desire for the results be the motive for your work, and never give way to laziness. In other words, we have to give up all thought about the results. And the results is what we always want and we always expect. So we have to stop it. At the work itself, let the results just take care of themselves. Which means we focus solely on the job. We do the best job we possibly can, and then we offer up the results. Krishna says yoga is skill in action. Yoga kamasu kaushalam. Yoga isn't screwing ourselves into a pretzel and holding our breath. It means doing, it means working with an extremely concentrated mind. Just like a laser focus there. Doing the best job we possibly can with all our mind and then offering up the results to the divine. And once we'd offered it up, it's over. It's like when we hand over a gift, we don't take the gift back. We don't say, did you like it? Did you open it up? Did you open it up? Did you hear it? It's over. It's done. Leave it. When we hand it over, when we offer up our work, it's over. Our mind is free. We move on. Because if we don't do that, we have expectations, and the expectations of result basically poison our life. If we work dependent on others, we have expectations about what others or how they're going to react and how they're going to like it or not like it, or whether this will get me further up or go further down. We lose our freedom and we gain nothing spiritually. Did she like it? Did he like it? Why didn't they like it? I worked so hard at it. It's being a slave. You know, we handed off our work, the results of our work, the way we hand off a package at UPS. The guy at UPS hands the package, he walks off. He doesn't think, did they like it? Did they not like it? It's over, it's done. Swami Vivekananda said, you should work like a master and not as a slave. Work incessantly, but do not do a slave's work. And if we're slathering after people's reactions, we work as a slave. Who cares? We do the best job we can, leave it. If we can hand off our work, not craving the results, doing the best job and surrendering those results, then we can develop this wonderful characteristic, even-mindedness, samatvan. It's an unperturbed evenness of mind. Krishna says that yoga itself is evenness of mind. Samatvan yoga yujate. Not shaken by adversity, not hankering after pleasures, not hankering for results. And this gives us peace and real contentment. Krishna says, seek refuge in this evenness. He said, those who work for selfish gain are pitiful. Nobody wants to be pitiful. It's like, because it's being a slave, it's like, please like it, please like it. It's like, ugh, hand it off. Sri Ramakrishna, we were just reading this in the gospel last night. It struck me. It's like, how come I never noticed how simple this was before? Sri Ramakrishna said, we cannot see God on account of the ego. I mean, we all know this, but to have it in just a few words like that, we cannot see God on account of the ego. It's like this big bloated ego. It's like, It gets in the way of everything, absolutely everything. We can't see things clearly. We can't see our own self clearly because this big, bloated, stupid ego. Karma yoga helps us get rid of this ego of the doer. Because really, who does anything? Again, as we had in our reading yesterday afternoon, Sri Ramakrishna repeatedly said, I am the machine and you are the operator. I am inert. You make me conscious. Our consciousness is divinity itself. It is the divine alone that is conscious. So the evenness of mind helps us make the mind fit for meditation. Raja Yoga, this yoga of meditation. Krishna says, when through the practice of yoga, the mind ceases its restless movements and becomes still, one realizes the Atman. It satisfies us entirely. I mean, just to even think that sentence is just gives us so much peace, to be satisfied entirely. The joy that comes from that can't even be described in words. But imagine being fully, completely fulfilled, completely satisfied. When we're completely fulfilled, we don't need anything else outside ourselves to be happy. We're entirely at peace. We don't crave. We don't need. Everything that we want is within ourselves, satisfied entirely. It's like, just to think that sentence just gives us great peace. What do we care about a pandemic? What do we care about that? It's like, so what happens without meditation? We don't have any peace. We don't have tranquility. We have a restless mind, and a restless mind is an unhappy mind. Krishna says, an uncontrolled mind doesn't know that the Atman is present. How can it meditate? Without meditation, where is peace? And without peace, where is happiness? People often mistake happiness for this kind of giddy, nervous effervescence, which is basically just excitement, which is a quick going up and that's a quick slam down. It's just nervous energy. It's a nervous giddiness, but it doesn't give us joy. It's not that deep joy that doesn't change. Krishna says about the person who has been able to control their mind, when they have no lust, no hatred, a person walks through safely the objects of lust and hatred. To obey the Atman is their peaceful joy. Sorrow melts into that clear peace. Their quiet mind is soon established in peace. You get this idea of like a kind of a stone just sinking down to this clear water and just like sinking at deep rest and then just merging into that infinite divine. And just to even think of such a blessed state is just brings us such joy. So we don't work all the time. We can't meditate all the time, but hopefully we can use our mind most of the time. And that's where Krishna tells us that the best way to use our mind is to use our own innate power of discernment or discrimination between the unreal and the real. Jnana yoga. Jnana yoga discerns what is permanent and unchanging. And then we leave behind what is changeable, what is impermanent, won't be there for us in the future. What alone in this entire universe is unchanging, abiding, eternal, permanent, past, present, and future? What will be here for us forever and forever and forever and forever? Only the divine. To have discernment is so important because otherwise we get sucked in to this idea that this world that we have here in front of us is the be all and end all of all existence. When as Sri Ramakrishna tells us, it has a 2-minute duration. It's here and gone tomorrow, and we never know when. We never know when our time is like over, click, taken out. This world has a 2 minutes duration. So to put all of our time and all our energy into something that is so transitory, What a waste of time and a life. We do what is responsible, we do what is kind, we do what is ethical, but remember, it's temporary. We can't uncurl the curly dog's tail. Krishna says, those of spiritual discernment, I see as my very self, for they alone love me because I am myself. They love me because I am what is unchanging, what is permanent, what is there for you forever and forever and forever. The yogas are rounded out by Bhakti Yoga, this path of loving devotion. Who doesn't love to love? We're all happiest when we love. We all love, and without love, we wither away like saplings without water. We can survive any kind of disaster as long as we have love for someone or something, and as long as we feel the love of others, and that supports us during any kind of trauma. It keeps us supported. The love of the divine is the most satisfying of all loves because it never changes, it never weakens, it never goes away, it never gets bored, never goes sour. It doesn't go for the blonde bimbo 40 years younger than us. Divine love is the only love that grows and grows and grows. I remember when Swami Prabhavananda said that in the lecture like 40, 50 years ago. I thought to myself, that's what I want. I want a love that just grows and grows and grows. Who doesn't want that? We love to love. Krishna says, give me your whole heart. Love and adore me. Worship me always, and you shall find me. This is my promise. Who love you dearly. Wow. Promise. When God promised you something, he's got your back. This is my promise. Who love you dearly. We're there revving our engines trying to love God. If we can spend a little time thinking about how much the Lord loves us. One step towards God, 1,000 steps he's doing towards us. That gives us such inspiration. If we can love the divine in the same way we love our most beloved, whoever, whatever that may be, then we'll have no problem concentrating our mind. We won't have a problem trying to meditate. Our minds won't wander. We won't fall asleep. We won't put off meditating and doing our email instead, because that intense love draws us like a magnet, because we love to love. So, but no matter which yoga we engage in, we engage in them all four of them, all parts of our personality need to be engaged. No matter which yoga we engage, Krishna is totally supporting us all the way. He says, I am dear to the spiritual seeker, and that spiritual seeker is dear to me. It's a win-win. Finally, what Krishna does is he tells us about the avatar. He wasn't the first avatar. Before Krishna, 1,000 years before Krishna, there was Rama. And before that, there was Arsuma, all these other incarnations. But it was Krishna who in the Bhagavad Gita really tells us about the importance, the value of the avatar. Why? He says, when goodness grows weak, when evil increases, I make myself a body. In every age, I come back to deliver the holy, to destroy, to destroy the sin of the sinner, to establish righteousness. Some of the most beautiful words I've written, yada yada hi dharmasya, glanir bhavati bharata. It just rings in your ears. It's so beautiful and so clear. Why is an avatar important? The avatar allows us to approach this infinite divine reality without the splendor, without the awe, without the fear, without the sense of unapproachability. The divine comes down to us on our level, becoming one of us, making us feel that the avatar is just one of us. We can talk to him. We can open our hearts to him. We can't love what we fear. We can't love if we're in awe of something. It's fear, it's not awe. A slave can't love the master. Swamiji said, if a dog wants to worship God, he's going to worship a best possible dog. We can only love what we know. Arjuna, Krishna's friend, it says Arjuna just sees Krishna as his dearest, dearest friend. And meanwhile, Krishna is telling him on the battlefront of Kurukshetra, he's saying, well, Arjuna says, well, wait a minute, I was just born and you were just born. He said, no, I remember all my past births. You don't. And then Krishna says, yo, I remember past, present, future, blah, blah, blah. And Arjuna says, oh, well, he says, please show me your divine form. Huh. So he does. And Arjuna completely can't deal with it. The narrator of the Bhagavad Gita, Sanjaya, says, when Krishna reveals his divine splendor, it's like the rising of 1,000 suns. And Arjuna says, oh my God, I see all gods within your body. Your universal form, I see without limit. I see no end, no middle, no beginning. All the worlds are fear-struck, even as am I. When I see you omnipresent, shouldering the sky, all my peace is gone, my heart is troubled. And so Arjuna falls down, he's trembling, shaking in fear. And with a voice choked with emotion, he says, carelessly, I called you Krishna, my comrade. I took the undying God for a friend and a fellow mortal. He said, overbold with love and unconscious of your greatness. He said, forgive me. Krishna said, sorry, this gets me every time. In really simple words, he said, I showed you my form because I love you. So simple, it's so beautiful. And then Krishna says, don't fear, don't be bewildered. Look, here I am, just as you knew. And it becomes the typical smiling Krishna, with a smile on his face, and at ease with his friend. And he tells Arjuna, it's like, yeah, don't worry, you know what? That shape of mine which you have seen is very difficult to behold. For that reason, we have the sweet form of the avatar. Easy to approach, easy to call friend or mother or father or child or beloved. No awe, just simple, easy love. Holy Mother was once asked by one of her very close disciples. He said, Mother, you've come to us appearing as a village woman. Why don't you show us? Why don't you come with all your celestial weapons and all your ornaments? And she said, my child, people wouldn't be comfortable with me. They wouldn't feel free to approach me. So simple. Krishna lets us know that the Lord is available to us all at all times. He'll be there to remove our fears, our anxieties, our sense of desolation, and our sense of separation. What Krishna tells us is what we need to hear right now. We need to hear about it. We need to think deeply about it. We need to meditate upon it and then actually put it into practice. It doesn't do any good to hear, think, meditate, and not put into practice. And you know what? If someone gives you a great new 20-speed bicycle and you leave it in the garage, it's of no use whatsoever. If you get a recipe, it's great, but it's a lot better when you put it into something delicious to eat. Because if we have a teaching and we don't put it into practice, it's of no use to us whatsoever. If we put it into practice, Krishna has given us this promise. If we put it into practice, then we can deal with anything and everything the world has to throw at us, and it will. Swamiji wrote this wonderful letter when he was in the United States. He wrote this beautiful letter to his brother disciples. And he said, what fear? Fear? Who is powerful enough to thwart you? We shall crush the stars to atoms. We shall unhinge the universe. Don't you know who we are? We are the servants of Sri Krishna. Whom to fear? Thank you. I'll conclude with a chant. Please join me. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. I'd like to invite any questions or exacerbations or arguments for anyone out there. Problems?
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yep. Hi, Stephen.
Why do you think Krishna is pictured as blue?
Well, according to Sri Ramakrishna, he's blue as the infinite sky. But when you get closer, as you approach the ocean, you see that what appears to be the ocean is blue is the infinite. So he appears as blue. Blue is the infinite sky, blue is the ocean. But it's wonderful, that feeling of infinity. Plus, blue's very pretty. Who doesn't like blue?
You're allergic to it.
I'm allergic to the dye, yes. Any other questions? Comments? Rebukes?
We have, I love your talk, and thank you for telling us the meaning of your name, and thank you, Pravrajika.
Simon.
Oh, someone has a question.
Good.
Pravrajika ji, namaste.
Namaste.
I do have a very small, can you hear me?
A little bit louder, please.
So I do have a question for you. In the beginning of your talk,
Yes.
you said that, and it's written in the Mahabharata, when Krishna approaches Duryodhana, he tries to negotiate that the war should not happen,
Yes.
but yet he fails. Right?
Yes.
If he is the sky, he's the divine himself, he's the higher self,
Yes.
why would he fail? So it does that mean the higher self sometimes cannot influence the ego? Or can you explain this to me, please?
Well, there is the question is, since in the Mahabharata, since Krishna did go to the opposing camp, to the Kauravas, to sue for peace, why, if he is the infinite God himself, why didn't he win? Why didn't his infinite power, why didn't he stop the war? Well, because meant the war was supposed to happen. There is such a thing as Pravrajika karma, that all these karmas will come to effect. For spiritual seekers like us, what is supposed to be an arm cut off will be a nick on the finger, but still the Pravrajika karma will take effect. And the Pravrajika karma of all these warriors on either side had to take effect. Many of these, there's many stories about the curses that these people had incurred from previous lives and all that, but basically, it was Pravrajika karma that had to take effect in that particular time. True, if the infinite Lord wants to stop something, he totally can, but you see always Krishna with a smile on his face. And as he said, these, when Arjuna is falling down and saying, I cannot kill, Krishna says, these warriors are killed by me already. All those people on the opposing camp that Arjuna is going to kill, Krishna says, no, you're not killing anybody. He said, by me, these men are killed already. With birth comes death, and to die on the battlefield for a warrior is a great thing.
We also have the question on YouTube. Was the battle an actual historical occurrence, or rather is it mythologically true, or both?
They're finding the question about is whether the Battle of Kurukshetra was historically accurate or whether it's mythological. They are finding archaeological evidence of Kurukshetra. I truly do believe there was this ghastly war with a Pyrrhic victory. There's too much evidence for its ascent rather than negative. It did indeed happen. That's my belief. Much more evidence for that than against it.
We have another question. How can those who yet don't quite know what their path is, how can they proceed on Karmanye Vidikarate.
Karmanye vadikaraste mafaleshu kadachana. That one?
That's
Okay.
it.
Because no matter what path, no matter what kind of work you're doing, the work that you're doing has to be offered up. Even if you're to this infinite divine reality. If you don't quite know what path you're on, first of all of us, if we're sincere in our spiritual life, really need spiritual teachers. We really need to consult our spiritual teachers about really where our path should be, because we really don't know our own minds very well. We are very, very fortunate in our Ramakrishna order of having some very advanced spiritual teachers, and we can consult them. And if our spiritual teacher has left the body, then we consult some other advanced spiritual teacher who can give us guidance that way. Then pray that we do the right thing. But we try to do the right thing. Sometimes we're at an impasse. We don't know, should I do this or should I do that? Both seem like difficult things. Both seem very different. Both like, this might happen or this might happen. We really pray very sincerely. Whatever comes up to our mind when we've concentrated with great, great intent, that'll be what we need to do. And then we offer it up.
And is that answer any different for teens or young adults? Because that was also part of it.
Now, teens or young adults, yes. But teens, young adults, yes. I was very fortunate to discover, to be given the grace of a spiritual teacher when I was a teenager, and that was the greatest gift that I've ever received in this and many lifetimes. So get the advice of a wise spiritual teacher, and they can guide. And then apart from that, if it's COVID, it's hard to see anybody. Learn from them, talk to them, and then really do some serious prayer about that. It's a good question. Thank you.
We also had the comment, if we didn't have the Kurukshetra war, we would not have the Bhagavad Gita. God loves us so much that he wanted to give us this message for generations beyond.
That's true. If we didn't have the Kurukshetra war, we wouldn't have the Bhagavad Gita. So, and that's given us incredible spiritual food for untold billions of people for over 4,000 years. So the thousands were slaughtered and billions are benefited and will be benefited for eons to come, because that message is eternal. It's such a beautiful thing. I really encourage everyone to really read the Bhagavad Gita, and also to read the Bhagavata. It's so charming. It's so sweet. This incredible time of love, of this sweetness and innocence in Vrindavan. They're both, anything's great. Any other comments, questions?
So there was another question, although I don't know if you feel that you've answered it. How does Krishna guide those to find their way?
Krishna guides us to find our way through his teachings in the Bhagavad Gita, through prayer, and through, I think if we really read the Bhagavad Gita, we can find so many answers in there. I really do. Once met Swami Tapasyananda, who was a translator of the Bhagavad Gita, very revered senior Swami of the order. And we were talking about how the Gita is really our best friend. It's really there for us. So much can be found there, but really a spiritual teacher can.
There's also the comment, it seems that there is Kurukshetra and Dharmakshetra every day in our lives.
You bet. There is Kurukshetra and Dharmakshetra every day of our lives. Every day we're facing a battle of some sort. We're facing it within ourselves. How to keep the ego down. How to see things clearly. How not to instigate lower motives and work from higher motives. How to deal with other people in a way that's loving and appropriate. How to be a good, responsible citizen is Kurukshetra, Dharmakshetra. It's a field of dharma out there. We can choose to make it a field of our own dharma if we want to really engage our life in a spiritual way. Otherwise, it's just a battle. And there's no point of just doing a battle unless we're gaining, unless we have a chance of winning. And the only chance of winning is to really spiritualize our life and to try to make it a part of our spiritual search, the search for our own divine nature.
That was just a question about whether it will be available on YouTube.
Yes, it will be available on YouTube. All right, then I think we can say, have a good rest of your day. Thank you very much for joining us. In 2 weeks, Krishna will be speaking on Krishna.
Grace and self-effort as shown in Vrindavan and Kurukshetra.
Oh, grace and self-effort as shown by Krishna in Vrindavan and Kurukshetra. That's a great topic. Okay, so don't miss it. 2 weeks from today, same time, same place, same YouTube channel. Thank you.